8 teams remain at Euro 24 and iconic moments aplenty. We're hoping to give you some more iconic moments and winning plays right here on Pinnacle. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. We're at the quarterfinal stage of the Euros at the round of 16. We're boring at times, but over the course of it all, some thrilling moments. Jude Bellingham's overhead winner, Cristiano Ronaldo breaking down in tears on the field, and myself breaking down in tears when I saw Turkey beat Austria to round things off in the round of 16. Overall, with our picks and plays that we provided last week, we did fairly well, Jake. Came away with a little bit of profit, some good prop bets, and some good futures still very much in play for both of us.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you highlighted it there. The football at times was really hard to watch. I just think the round of 16, especially with some of the matchups we had where you had such big underdogs, you just kind of know how they're going to set up and play. The Slovakias and Slovenias, they just kind of, well, Slovakia took a lead and sat on it. Slovenia turned up for a 0-0. Yeah, it was a tough watch. But like you said, there was actually really quite a few moments of brilliance that will stick in the mind for a long time. None more so than the Turkey goalkeeper pulling off a worldie save in the last minute to deny Austria that extra time slot. And obviously, you mentioned the Jude Bellingham overhead kick. I mean, wow, that was schoolyard stuff, wasn't it? Right, we are literally scraping the barrel, long throw, just launch it in, just get in the mixer. Classic old school football, and then that happens. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the quarters. Like you said, there was a bit of profit for us. We were on the unders in the France-Belgium game, which was very, very profitable. Yeah, England unders, we were both on Switzerland as well. I mean, they looked pretty good. Be interested to hear your thoughts about the England-Switzerland game, given that how the lines are set, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I mean, the Friday games just look, on paper, they should really deliver.
If the two heavyweights actually provide that marquee heavyweight tilt. And some of the games were completely skewed one way or the other, which made for some drab football at times just because there was a pronounced favorite against a significant underdog in the round of 16. Really, aside from France and Belgium, there wasn't really two big teams that you consider contenders going toe-to-toe. Why that Austria loss hurt me so much is I had them to make the quarterfinals as one of my top future plays. So it was just a double blow for me. But some of what we recommended in the last podcast is looking rather good. The Netherlands, the fact that they advanced and now played Switzerland to go on and win the tournament, they were at plus 1,200 before. It's come down to plus 650 on Pinnacle after that win and based on the path that they need to go through. And Cody Gakpo, I threw him out as a name that could come away with player of the tournament. He was coming off that plus 5,000 with another goal and an assist in that game against Romania and with the game against Turkey ahead. That looks to be a little bit of a savvy play if the Netherlands could continue to roll on throughout this tournament, throughout the knockout phase.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that was kind of my angle, really, with the Netherlands-Romania game. There wasn't much I fancied in the match. I just thought that Netherlands would progress. There was a short price to do so. Backing them in the outright made more sense to me. And yeah, now you've got another favourable matchup against Turkey. I think Netherlands-Austria would have been, they probably wouldn't have shortened as much in the outright. But a very favourable matchup. And then they play either England or Switzerland. And you have to say the Netherlands probably fancy the chances against both, given what they've seen. And yeah, the Gakpo shout is looking very good from you. I've got to say, got to give you credit where credit's due, because he really did put on a stellar performance. And a lot of Liverpool fans that I know were screaming at the TVs, wondering, where's this performance been for Liverpool? But I guess it's the way you play them, isn't it? Gakpo generally been playing as an 8 or a striker for Liverpool, plays out wide for the Dutch, and he is a flying winger.
Well, at least one person named Gareth can rise to the moment, because honestly, who can resist a 94th minute change when he could have made it about 25 minutes earlier? We'll get into all of that. We'll see if we can come up with a pick per game. I did in the round of 16. Jake kind of had a little bit of a watch and brief on a few, but 4 games to go here that are going to be played over the course of Friday and Saturday. And let's go ahead and break them all down. Starting off the match in Stuttgart. I mean, this is probably the game of all the games. It's Spain and Germany. It's the two top goal scoring sides in the tournament thus far. Germany scored 10 10 goals, while the Spanish have 9 goals in the same number of games. Spain are on a run right now, 6 straight wins, no losses in 7. They've gone over 2.5 in 5 of 7. Fabian Ruiz, what a player, what a tournament he's having, has the most goal contributions in the competition with 4, 2 goals and 2 assists. Spain, the only side in the competition with 4 wins. I should also mention Germany and Spain are 2 of the sides that have won the XG battle in every game so far at this tournament. There's 2 other teams that have, and they're on the same side of the draw in France and Portugal as well. There's been a consistent 11 for De La Fuente as well, so there shouldn't be very many changes when it comes to their starting 11. For Germany, no losses in 8, 6 wins and 2 draws. They've looked great, getting past Denmark 2-0. There should have been both teams to score that game. It didn't play out because of VAR. I'll leave that alone for now. Musiala, the joint top goal scorer in the competition, 3 goals in 4 games. Ta's going to come back into the team at center back, and some decisions to make for Julian Nagelsmann. Is it going to be Wirtz or Mittelstadt or Sané and Rom? The latter 2 did start the knockout round tie against Denmark. Head-to-head, Spain hasn't lost to Germany in 4. Germany no clean sheet against Spain in 4. They played to the under 2.5 in 7 of 8. Remember, their last meeting was a 1-1 draw, and Spain absolutely crushed Germany a couple years back. What was it, a 6-1 final? It was a complete embarrassment, a complete capitulation at the time. But 2 very different managers. They've gone from Luis Enrique and Hansi Flick to obviously De La Fuente and Nagelsmann. In this one, I mean, it's a very tough pick to make because the markets have really come and the price is shortened on both sides. It just depends on who you like going into these games. To qualify, Spain at minus 111 on Euro, or on Pinnacle, I should say. Germany at plus 101. Spain to win the match outright at plus 173, plus 217 for the draw, plus 185 if you want to back the hosts in Germany. And the total is set at 2.5. How do you look at this game? How do you handicap it? How do you handicap it, Jake?
This is a fascinating betting heat, isn't it? 2 teams that have arguably been the best teams at the Euros so far to watch, and obviously performance-wise. And the market can't split them. I am slightly surprised that Germany aren't the favourites, just because they've obviously got home advantage. I expected that to be enough to tilt Germany into favouritism. They are second favourites, as you mentioned. So if anything, I would be leaning towards a potential German play. But I've just seen that Pinnacle have player card lines up, and I am more than happy to get stuck into a couple of players. The obvious one being Rodri. Surprised he's at plus 350, incredible price. He's going to be playing in midfield. We know how Spain play with him as basically the pivot, and everybody else is attacking. He's going to be very vulnerable to players like Gundogan, who are good foul drawers. Musiala drifting in off the left-hand side. I think the plus 350 for a player that's already been booked twice at this tournament and served a suspension looks a big price. And I'm also going to take a look at Robin Lenormand, because I'm looking at Kai Havertz. He commits a lot of fouls. He also draws a lot of fouls. But also Musiala drifting in from that left-hand side into that right centre-half space. We saw Joachim Andersen foul Musiala 4 times in the last round just because he was drifting into that half space. And I think that Lenormand, who he's a very, very happy fouler himself, he could be in for a very long afternoon against Musiala and also Havertz. So far at this tournament, he's committed 8 fouls as Lenormand, and that is, he's played 315 minutes, so it works out at fouls per 90 of 2.29, and I fully expect him to have a very difficult night up against those players. So plus 375 for Lenormand, plus 350 for Rodri. I'll be backing both to be carded.
What's interesting to me is that you picked out 2 players from the Spanish side, because the way that this game is being analyzed or broken down, it's whether the German fullbacks can deal with Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, two very pacey, influential players for Spain. Is there anything on Kimmich or Middlestat or Rom the other way that catches your eye? Because I'm not sure how it's played out, but those seem to be kind of the focal points of where Spain prefer to attack, or at least find the most joy in attacking.
Absolutely, yeah. I would be potentially interested in Kimmich just because of how we've seen him kind of, well, not deal too well with pacey wingers in the Champions League. The Vinicius game at the Bernabeu springs to mind. But the reason I was focusing on Spain is because they've actually been one of the best teams, if you like, for fouls committed. Only Austria have committed more fouls at the tournament than Spain. Spain have committed 57 fouls in 4 matches. 14, 17, 15, and 11, and they committed 11 fouls against Georgia, and they had 75% possession, and they still committed 11 fouls. They are a high pressing team that when the ball turns over, they are more than happy to be cynical and commit fouls, or commit fouls against the fullbacks that are pushed right back into their own corners. So there's the reason I was focusing on Spain, because they do press so high. If Germany can beat the press, then all of a sudden you've got a dangerous 1v1s against the players that I've mentioned.
Brilliant. Well, we'll see how that plays out. I'm just going to look at the game in general. And the reason why I think Spain picked up so many fouls against Georgia, they actually played a team that could run, that could really challenge them in a way. They didn't really see it in the group stage. Like Croatia, their strength isn't their legs. Same goes for Italy. We saw how pedestrian they are at times. A team that can get out and play a little bit and press a little bit, I think that they can challenge the Spanish side. Their back four should be the weakness in this team, and I think it could inevitably be what ends up sinking them. Germany's buoyed by playing at home as hosts in this. I as well am surprised they're not favorites going into this game. I think they'll remember that 6-0 absolute shellacking at the hands of Spain back in 2020. Revenge could be in the cards. And I think that there's enough experience. There's a good mix in this German side that they might be able to deal with a little bit of the inexperience of Spain. Like Nico Williams, after all, is just about 21. Lamal's like just a teenager. It's a big spot with Morata playing in between. I just trust the German attack more and how fluid that they've looked at times. And with Ta coming back into this team, I think they're in a good spot. My pick is going to be Germany at a pick'em or a draw no bet at even money, because I don't think there's going to be very much that separates these sides. If it's a 1-0, I'm happy to take that kind of win. If it ends up going to extra time, which it very well could, then you get your money back. That to me is kind of the safest, smartest play to make heading into this game, because of a hard time seeing very much separate these two sides at all, Jake.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do think that the hosts that are actually the away team, they should be the favourites. So I definitely agree with you there. I would also maybe have a little look at the goal line as well. It's set at 2.5, which is a little bit higher than a couple of the other games. But as we know with knockout football, an early goal and anything can happen because you've only got 90 minutes to save yourselves. So yeah, I would potentially be looking at leaning the over at a plus number there because of the attacking firepower that's on the pitch and the defensive vulnerabilities of both.
Plus 107, you can find the total over 2.5 on Pinnacle. Also on Friday in Hamburg, another really good game. A rematch of the 2016 Euro final in France and Portugal. This is actually the third straight Euro there where Portugal and France have faced one another. Portugal got by. I mean, it was a drag to watch at times. Slovenia in pens. Slovenia tested them at times, and there was a whole lot of frustration, which ended in Cristiano Ronaldo in tears after missing a penalty in extra time. Diego Costa, what a goalkeeper he was. 3 saves on 3 penalties faced. And I'll give Ronaldo credit. He stepped up and took the first penalty and set the tone and beat Jan Oblak as Portugal survived the Slovenian threat. Portugal actually, despite that game, have played over 2.5 in 5 of 7. For France, Rabiot is suspended for this one, and France haven't lost in 7 games. They played to under 2.5 in their last 5 games, and they're yet to have a player score from open play at this tournament. There was a penalty that Mbappe converted, and the other two goals have been own goals, including the ball coming off Jan Vertonghen. It was very unfortunate in their 1-0 victory over Belgium. Plenty of shots, but very little of any quality or on target. France hasn't lost in Portugal in their last three, and they played to under 2.5 in 4 of 5. They met in the group stage at the 2020 Euro. It ended 2-2, two for Ronaldo, both pens. And Benzema also scored a pen on his way to scoring a brace as well. France have dominated this matchup historically. 19 wins to Portugal 6 to go along with 3 draws as well. But of course, Portugal did beat France inevitably to win Euro 2016. For this one, Portugal, for them to advance, plus 250. That's a big number there. Or sorry, plus 134 to advance. Sorry, the outright for Portugal is plus 250 on Pinnacle. Plus 199 is the draw, and plus 142 if you want to back France. The total is set at 2, the over at minus 116, the under at plus 103. Another game which plenty of star power, two sides. Would it surprise you if either one of these teams went on to win Euro based on the players that they have? How do you look at this game, Jake? Because I think we've seen glimpses from Portugal, but we certainly haven't seen the best from France, not yet at this tournament.
No, we haven't, but this is what France do. They kind of get by in second gear, if you like. We've seen Spain and Germany hit third, fourth gear already in not in their attacking play in particular, whereas France haven't yet got there. This is two teams that actually rank very, very low for XG per shot at the tournament. So there's a lot being made about France and their overall XG total. They've created 6 expected goals. Obviously, they've only scored once, and that's come from a penalty, a couple of own goals in there. So, Portugal are at 0.95 XG per shot, which is really low as well, from a fairly big XG total of 6.9. France at 0.9. So it kind of shows you that these two teams are, they're taking a lot of shots, but not of a high quality. So immediately I'm thinking unders is a bet. And then you dig a little bit deeper and you look at France's defensive numbers. Conceded 0.8 XG to a good Austria team, 0.4 to the Netherlands, who looked red hot the other day, 1.1 to Poland, but that came with a penalty. And then in the last round, a star-studded Belgium attack barely laid a glove on them, 0.2 expected goals. So this is going to be a slog. I think Spain-Germany is going to be, if these two games were the other way around, I think that would be better for everybody, because you're going to have, that's almost the dessert, that's the sweet game that you're going to probably see a lot of attacking football. This is going to be the opposite. This is going to be a very rigid game, full of low probability chances. And again, 1 goal is probably going to be enough. I said it in the France-Belgium game. I wouldn't be surprised if 1 goal was enough. It's the same here. Who gets that goal is the question, because I'm looking at these markets and I think that Portugal are being a little bit underestimated. Yep. Now, I'm not going to make a pro-Portugal bet, but plus 250 versus plus 142, that's too big of a gap for me. There wasn't that much of a gap between the two teams in the outright. I think France went off at around plus 400, Portugal about plus 650. So yeah, that for me is a little bit too big, and I definitely would make Portugal shorter. But I've got to play the under, and the line's at 2, which is low. But as we saw in the round of 16, these games are very cagey, very tight, and these two teams in particular haven't played a lot of good attacking football. So plus 103 for under 2 goals, obviously money back if it's exactly 2, a winner if there's 0 or 1, and I would not be at all surprised if it was 0-0.
Me neither. I do have a pro Portugal play. I'm going to play Portugal to qualify at plus 134. That for me makes the most sense with very little separating these sides. I just have not been impressed by France at all, Jake. Just the process hasn't been great. I don't think they've got the right midfield mix, although N'Golo Kante's been their best player. Dembele, he's been missing in action. Thuram hasn't had a very good tournament. Mbappe's wearing the face mask. He hasn't had the influence that was expected based upon his play at the last World Cup. It just seems like they don't have a lot of ideas. And that worries me. And I don't know if Deschamps is going to play 3 players in the midfield. He could. And that means Griezmann, who when they're playing their best football is playing inside, is pushed out to the right. And I don't think that that is his best position at all. And I look at a difference maker like Bruno Fernandes in the Portugal side, and I think that he might be the key that can unlock that French back line. I don't think that they've been great despite the numbers and the stats. Portugal's problem is CR9. It's Cristiano Ronaldo, because when he stops moving, the attack becomes very predictable. And that's why I think your bet to the under makes a whole lot of sense. But Cristiano Ronaldo, we all know, will not come off in this game. He won't. So I think that this is a game of all of them that has penalties written all over it. It could very well go to penalties. You saw what Costa, the penalty saver, is all about. He is excellent. He saved 13 of the 42 penalties that he's faced over his career. Mike Maignan is very good as well, but I think Costa has a little bit of an edge there. And same goes with the penalty takers for Portugal. Whether it's Ronaldo, Bruno, like these guys are calculated. They very rarely miss. And I think that if it does come down to a penalty shootout, I think it slightly plays into Portugal's favor. So I wouldn't talk anyone off of anyone, taking a punt on potential penalties in this game, because I think that it's going to be that close, that cagey, and a very low scoring one. So I'll go Portugal to qualify as my overall play, but I'm intrigued by maybe some of those bigger long shots to see this game go to extra time and potentially penalties as well. Kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
0-0 or something like that.
All right. Saturday in Dusseldorf, England has somehow qualified for yet another quarterfinal. This is what they do under Gareth Southgate. Jude Bellingham, the savior, the overhead kick, Harry Kane in extra time to dispatch somehow of Slovakia. 2-1 was the final. Marguerite is suspended, so much Gareth Southgate doesn't like to make changes. He will be making at least one change at center back. Kieran Trippier is back playing. No losses in 4, despite it all, for England. They played to the under 2.5 in 5 of 5. Thus far this year, Southgate's team still has lost 2 of 8 games in all competitions in this calendar year in 2024. Losses to Brazil and Iceland. So it's not as if they were on incredible form entering this tournament. Switzerland, it was a very straightforward 2-0 win over Italy, wasn't it? They played to under 2.5 in 8 of 10. Both teams to score, however, has played in 4 of 5. Switzerland are bidding to reach a major tournament semifinal for the first time. They've lost their previous 4 quarterfinal matchups, and Switzerland are unbeaten in 2024. Vidmer comes back into the team, returning from injury. A little bit of a concern with Granit Xhaka. He has some scans on his thigh. It looks like he'll be good to go, but at the very least, it's something worthwhile to consider. Head-to-head, England 5 wins, no losses in 10 against the Swiss. And surprise, surprise, they played to under 2.5 in 4 of 5. England last won. They beat Switzerland 2-1 at Wembley in 2022. In this one, England to win at plus 124, the draw at plus 199, plus 298 if you want to back Switzerland to win outright. To qualify, England minus 169, Switzerland at plus 152. The total shouldn't surprise anyone. It's set at 2. Jake, how do you look at this one?
England, annoyingly, I actually think England might be a bet. The prices plus 124 to win the game. Germany played Switzerland not so long ago, and Germany went off as prohibitive favourites around the 1-2 mark. I don't think there should be that big a gap between England and Germany in terms of the prices. And even if you factor in how bad England have been, I would probably still expect to see England around plus 100 for this game. So plus 124 does look a little bit big for me. However, I can't make that an official play because England have looked so bad. That's, to me, where the value lies. But I also think there is, again, value in backing the under. Under 2, minus 106, lock it in. England are a very low margin team at the moment. They're not creating an abundance of chances, but they're also not conceding many either. And the same can be said of Switzerland. They have had one really explosive game against Hungary where they looked really good at the start of the tournament, but since then it's been a 1-1, 1-1, 2-0, and England's followed a similar pattern, hasn't it, with a 1-0, 1-1, 0-0, 1-1. So take under 2 goals, get your money back if there's exactly 2 goals, winner if there's 0 or 1.
I'm backing Jake's pre-tournament play. Switzerland's going to do well. I've come completely around on this one. There's some good young players in this team, and they play within a very robust system. I agree. This game has underwritten all over it, but who's going to win? Again, it's another draw no bet for me, and it's Switzerland at plus 171 for a draw no bet. It's too good not to take. I'd even lock in on Switzerland on the handicap plus a quarter of a goal at plus 103. I don't think there's any urgency to go on Pinnacle and make this play right now because England money will come in based upon what you just said, that number. But based upon the way that they played over the course of this tournament and they're playing the best team that they've played thus far, you can't back them. There's just no way you can back them. And Switzerland's not one of those teams that are going to play recklessly either. They're going to say, okay, come on, try to break us down. And there's zero evidence to suggest England has the impetus, wherewithal, the confidence, choose whatever descriptive word that you want to, that they can go on and do it. There's no chance you can make a pro-England play here. Switzerland on a pick 'em, draw no bet at plus 171 or on the handicap at plus 103. But I'm going to hold off and wait and see if those numbers get a little bit more juice to them before making the play. And finally, the late game on Saturday, it's the Netherlands and Turkey. Netherlands getting past Romania 3-0. A little bit of a shaky start, but they came into their own. Gakpo was great. Another goal, another assist. Malen came in and scored the brace as well. Netherlands have actually gone over 2.5 in 8 of their last 9 games. And they have a head-to-head all-time record, and they thrashed Turkey 6-1 during their last meeting in World Cup qualifying back in 2021, which sounds familiar because Turkey was thrashed by Austria earlier this year 6-1 and somehow went out to beat them despite everything being skewed against them in terms of the XG, the way the game played out. But Turkey did win 2-1 over Austria to reach this part. Chahanoglu is back, so is Semet, Akaden, Koksu, and Yuksek are both suspended for this game. And they've reached a tournament quarterfinal for the first time since 2008. They're a side that's also been playing to the over in this competition. Netherlands to win outright at minus 164, the draw at plus 318, plus 464 if you want to back the Turks. To qualify, minus 330 for the Dutch, plus 282 for Turkey, and the total is set at, look at this number, 2.75, 2.75, with the over playing at plus 101 and the under at minus 114. The Netherlands clear favorites. It's the game that has a pronounced favorite of the 4. The other 3 simply do not to this degree. Should it be straightforward for the Netherlands, or did we learn something based upon the Turkish play in their last game without their captain in that win over Austria?
It should be straightforward, but it depends what Turkey team turns up and also what Netherlands team, because we've seen a bit of both from the Dutch. They were really good against Romania, arguably one of the weaker teams we've faced in the tournament so far, but prior to that, there were serious question marks. If they play in the same manner, I don't think they'll have too many issues with dealing with Turkey, to be honest, because I don't rate them that highly or that much more than I do Romania. Defensively, they've been all over the place, Turkey. I know the game state factors in against Austria that they went 1-0 up early and just kind of sat back after about 20 minutes. But they conceded over 3 expected goals in that game and were really fortunate and thankful to the goalkeeper, really, for coming away with the win there. Overall, they've conceded 8 expected goals at the tournament, so an average of 2 per game. And as you mentioned, the over has clicked in all 4 of their matches. It's landed in 3 of the 4 Dutch games as well. So I think that the Netherlands win. Over 2.5 minus 127 is probably my best bet or my favourite bet for this because of the goal lines that we've seen so far. And just looking, Netherlands to win and over 2.5, combine the 2 might be of interest as well. But I think just keep it simple and back the overs. This is of all of the 4 games, this is the one I'm most confident that we will see plenty of entertainment, mainly because Turkey are involved.
Yeah, but I don't think that Turkey can challenge the Dutch in their back line. Like watching the game against Romania, just the way that Ake and Van Dijk and just, I don't care who else you even put it back there with them. De Ligt, De
Vrij.
Vrij in that game. the way they play with the three and then push Dumfries, I think that Turkey's going to have a real difficult time dealing with that. I don't think that Turkey scored in this game. The game model that I'd equate this to is Turkey stepping up in competition, is losing 3-0 the way they did to Portugal early this tournament. I can kind of see a very similar scenario playing out. The Dutch have different players that can come on and beat you in different ways as well. So I'm going to go both teams to score no plus a Netherlands win at plus 185. Just in case they, it's a little bit more cagey. It took Netherlands some time to finally, start breaking down Romania with regularity. So both teams to score no and Netherlands to win at plus 185. I'm just not confident. It could be a 3-0. To the Dutch in this one. Honestly, I think that they're by far the better team. And I thought that Turkey just rode their luck, and the XG totals suggested as much against Austria. Any future goal scorers to play on Pinnacle? I'm staying away entirely with the future Dutch play, and with Gakpo in mind already from before the round of 16.
Yeah, not really. Obviously, I got the Dutch on side at plus 1200 in before the last game, so just kind of cheering them on. And then it's really fascinating outright market because you've got four teams at the top that are split by half a point ish, but three of them are on the same side of the draw. So they're going to have to beat each other to make it through to the final. And I do think there's potentially a bit of juice in England's price just because of that potential route. But if England had played to the level we kind of expected them to, then they would be probably around plus 200 right now to win the tournament.
Yeah.
In terms of the top scorer, again, like your man Gakpo, he's up there now after scoring again. He's got an assist. Probably would be looking at him. It's a short price at plus 400, but like we've said, they're playing a very vulnerable Turkey team, are the Dutch. And yeah, he could easily pick up another couple of goals there. And depending on what happens with the lineup, I mean, Donyell Marlin is not too far behind either.
That's the one, because he can come in for Bergwijn. He's on 2 goals. The tournament's top player's on 3, and he's at plus 2,500, Jake. I mean, that's the guy that jumps off the page, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's the same reasoning for me. And we all the good players are up there: Havertz, Mbappe, Musiala, Bellingham, Kane. But half of those players are on the tough side of the draw, and they're playing against the better teams in the competition. So if you can, we're obviously hoping that Marlon plays, but up against a potentially weak Turkey, and then you never know if Switzerland beat England, then Netherlands have got another match in which they're strong favourites. So yeah, I'd be looking at Gakpo and Marlon just because of the opposition for sure.
All right, the Orange Army will really enjoy this podcast. I think that they're the team to back right now with some kind of maturity, and based on the futures numbers that are on market right now, based on how close some of these games will be, just if Spain gets past Germany or Germany gets past Spain and playing France and Portugal, you're going to be able to find a number that will replicate the numbers or be really close to the numbers for them to go on and reach the final or go on and win it anyways. So one step at a time would be my advice to you. Good stuff, Jake. This has been your quarterfinal preview for Euro 2024. We'll be back ahead of the Final Four, and we'll see if Gareth Southgate wakes up and gets his team playing, can get them back to a semifinal. I mean, there's certainly a cure for insomnia, aren't they? But we'll see how it all plays out. On behalf of Jake, I'm Wheels, and this has been your Euro 2024 breakdown for Pinnacle.